Hello guys, and welcome to the first video in a series called Game Tech Talks. And basically this is just going to be me doing any kind of news or game talks or new game releases, console stuff, PC stuff, new parts coming out, consoles coming out, whatever the case may be. Basically whatever it is that I feel like kind of going over and putting a video up for. Kind of gets me into something different other than just working on the benchmarks, game testing, console versus PC versions of games. I'm going to continue doing all of that stuff. I'm going to be getting more hardware and increasing the testing of games. But I also just want to be able to do this series of videos for as long as it works, for a playlist for Game Tech Talks, and just kind of enjoy being able to go over different news and rumors and game, PC, and console related things that I come across every day anyway. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and jump into the first video. So I wanted to do this one because it kind of opens the door to talking about something that I don't see near as much as I thought that I would by now. So here we've got the Xbox Series X versus PlayStation 5, the price standoff. This is an article out of Forbes a little bit earlier today, and it goes, many expect Sony to reveal the PlayStation 5 either later this month or sometime in the early spring. But even if we see the box, the DualShock, and hear about some more of the features, the one thing we're probably not going to hear about is the price. And that's obvious. They're not going to release the price that early for a lot of different reasons, not for the reasons that I think everybody else is kind of talking about. So it goes on to say there have been some translated comments from Sony CFO Hiroki Totoki, if I'm saying that right, on a recent earnings call that are being interpreted as Sony waiting until Microsoft announces the Xbox Series X price in order for them to either match it or undercut it. Now, this could be, but I don't really think so. I think Sony probably already knows the price they're going to release at. I think they already know they're trying to go for $400 again, and that they're expecting the Series X to go for probably $500 again, kind of like we saw before. The only difference, instead of the Xbox being a less powerful console this time with a Kinect and everything for $500, we're going to be getting a more powerful console without the Kinect. So I think they already know, but I think what Sony's doing more is keeping their price under wraps, letting Microsoft announce their price first, so the Xbox doesn't try to undercut them. So that's what I think is more going on. And there's another reason for that too that we'll get into towards the end of the video. So it goes on to say, in quote, what is not very clear or visible is because we are competing in the space. So it's very difficult to discuss anything about the price at this point of time. And depending upon the price level, we may have to determine the promotion that we are going to deploy and how much cost we are prepared to pay. So basically, profit versus loss. What are they willing to sell the console for? What's Microsoft going to do? So I see where that alludes to the whole they're waiting so they can either undercut or match, but I still think it's because they want Microsoft to come out higher to begin with, at that $500 to begin with, and then Sony can come out at their $4 or even $449 for that matter. But I think they're already planning on doing that. Just nobody knows it. So it goes on to say, yeah, I am less than confident that's precisely what he's saying based on that, but it does make at least logical sense that Sony might wait for Microsoft to go first. After all, one of the biggest advantages the Sony PS4 had over the Microsoft One back in 2013 was the $100 price difference, and I believe Sony's going for that again, and that's something they would no doubt love to have again if possible. So very true, they would love to have a $100 price difference. That's almost 2 games. Excuse me. So definitely that's always a swaying factor for people when you're talking about $100 less for a launch cost console. So despite inflation, despite the rising cost of making these extremely powerful consoles, it stands to reason that both the Xbox Series X and the PS5 will be priced between $400 and $600. That's pretty much a duh at this point. No more, no less. But which will cost what? That's a more complicated question, and I think there are a few trains of thought here. So we're going to check out what they have written up for their pricing, but they are missing a big part here, I believe. So Xbox Series X at $600. Microsoft may just say screw it and price it as high, and price it this high, saying that it's the most powerful console in existence, and if you don't want to pay that premium, you can still buy all the Series X games on Xbox One X for now. And yet, everyone remembers how disastrous the PS3 launch was at $600, so I have a hard time believing anyone wants to return that price point. So I was going to say that too. Everyone remembers the PlayStation 3 launch. That $600 price point really destroyed them in the beginning. And the PS3 did come back to catch up and I believe surpass the Xbox 360 in actual sales. But the Xbox 360 was the go-to most popular console, especially at launch and for the first few years. So then they go on to say Xbox Series X at $500. This makes more sense to me given the power of the Series X. This may still be a loss on the unit, and it does make the price point of the Xbox One, which did poorly at launch. But given the specs and the market, this seems like a logical price point. So, yeah, coming out at $500, not having a Kinect and being more powerful or the most powerful at launch is definitely way better. That's people not only want to save that $100, and that's why they bought a PS4, but also there was no reason to pay $100 more to get the Xbox One. Literally, unless you were just addicted to Kinect, there was no reason to pay that money. So, at least in this case, you would be paying for a more powerful piece of hardware. So, Xbox Series X at $400. Now, this I think is highly unlikely. Not just for the loss that they would take, but because I believe we are going to have a two-console launch. So, Microsoft, with all its billions, just could throw caution and profit to the wind and price the Series X this low, which would match Sony at the worst-case scenario and put them on the back foot. But I think this would be too much of a loss for the console. Yeah, this is going to be a loss. That's why there's going to be a second console. Which we'll talk more about here. So PlayStation 5 at $600. This is a 0% chance. Yeah, I'm not even going to finish reading this. We know the PlayStation 5 is not going to launch at $600. It's not going to happen. A PlayStation 5 at $500. This seems possible to me, particularly if Microsoft does in fact go first and prices at $500 itself. Yes, it would merely be matching them instead of undercutting them, and yet Sony has massive brand loyalty from the last few generations of PlayStation, and many people are going to auto-buy the PS5 as a result, and $500 probably wouldn't stop them. And no, it wouldn't. Loyal PlayStation fans are going to buy the PlayStation at $400 or $500. It's going to happen. Loyal Xbox people are going to buy the next Xbox at $400, $500, or possibly $600 for the premium model. It's going to happen. But you got the people in the middle who can swap and flay and sway back and forth and do different things. So PlayStation 5 at $400. Here's where we arrive at what I think could be the most likely scenario. Xbox Series X prices at $500 and Sony undercuts them. I think Sony's already planning on selling at $400, mirroring the launch of the last generation. This time, Microsoft's price increase would be due to power, not the Kinect, which I was saying earlier on. And yet I think Sony would love to be the cheaper option despite that, if possible. So this is my prediction. So, okay. The thing is, yeah, it would mirror the launch, but here's where there's one important piece of information that is missing from this article. Yes, it's a big rumor, but so is most of this article. This is all speculation. Nobody knows anything about the pricing. Nobody knows any of this stuff. Microsoft is going to have a two-console launch. Now, I don't hear any rumors that there's going to be two PlayStation 5 launches. The rumored specs for the PlayStation 5 put it around, the launch PlayStation 5, around 8 to 9 teraflops. Now, we're not going to judge everything on teraflops, but based on the specs, based on what's supposed to be coming out, that's what they're saying. The Series X is supposed to come out around 12 teraflops. So regardless of what hardware they use, what specs they have, that number alone tells you that there's a difference. The difference in the hardware, the difference in the power, and the difference in the pricing. PlayStation 5 can come out at $400 a lot easier than the Series X can. Series X is probably going to come out at $500 because it's going to be a more powerful console by a good bit. Xbox, though, Microsoft is not going to be undercut this time. They're not going to lose a certain margin of consumer this time by not having a less expensive option. There's always been rumored that there was two consoles in the pipeline for this launch. It's been a few years that rumor's been out. They didn't talk about it at the last E3, so it kind of threw some people off. Oh, maybe they're not really doing it, or maybe that's for down the line. They don't want to launch two consoles at once. Wrong. I believe that they will be launching two consoles at once. The other console is going to be a more budget console. It's going to be, I don't want to say closer to the 1X, but probably similar, but with the new CPU architecture, like the Zen 2 and everything. And it's probably going to do 6 to 8 teraflop if we were just throwing a number at it to compare what the budget series, which will probably be called the Series S, Xbox Series S, for $400, $350, $400, and the Series X for $500. That's going to put Sony in a predicament where they've got their one console launch that they're going to price at $400. But there's also going to be a brand new Xbox that you could get at $400 that's probably going to maybe not match its performance, but be close. So, and with things like xCloud, Game Pass, and that kind of stuff out, it might sway customers. So I definitely believe we're looking at a 2-console launch for Xbox, probably one about $400 and one about $500, and a single launch on PlayStation 5, at least to begin with. They'll come out with a Pro later. That'll be around $400. And so whether Sony's waiting for Microsoft to drop their price or not, it's not going to matter. Sony's probably already going to sell their console for $400. They probably know this. What I don't know if they know is that Microsoft's probably going to release 2 consoles, one to compete against the PlayStation 5's price a little bit, and one to be a premium model for people like me and probably you, if you're watching this, that are going to want the best experience possible, the best model, the Xbox that you can get, the Series X. But the Series S would really get some consumers in that don't want to pay that premium price but want to go with the Xbox brand. So anyway, guys, that's about it for now on this one. First video in this series. Hope it went well. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give the video a thumbs up. Please click subscribe if you'd like. Leave a comment below. I'd like to know what your thoughts are on these on the console releases and what we're looking at. I know that a lot of stuff is just rumor and speculation right now. But yeah, let's see what happens, and we'll try to keep up with it. All right. As always, have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one.